Now, originally I hadn't been planning on making 2 Super Nintendo reviews back to back, but this time it just felt right. On a whim, I decided to buy the Mega Man X Legacy Collection for Switch, and I had a really good time with it, so I figured, why not? Besides, one of the other games I had planned will take a little bit longer to finish. Anyways, let's get into it. This time on That Game Review Show, I'm your host, James, and we will be taking a look at the classic Mega Man X. So, my history with the Super Nintendo version specifically is minimal. I played the PSP version, Maverick Hunter X, a few times over the years, and I had a pretty good time with it. And despite having the original on my PSP at the time via emulators, I just never got around to fully playing it. Real talk though, I haven't played it much recently, but Maverick Hunter X is a really good version of this game, and if you have a PSP or a Vita, it's a worthwhile investment. It's largely the same game. I can't think of any differences, but instead of it being sprite-based, it's a 2.5D platformer. And it has, like, story. Completely forgot to mention that. We start the game with X on a bridge. Just like Mario World, this is one of those games that has a good chunk of the game story in the game manual. There is some exposition from a Dr. Kane in the intro for the title screen, explaining that he discovered X, and that he has the ability to adopt various powers. Plus, also having the capability for human emotions. He leaves X in a capsule to have his brain tested or some shit to make sure he doesn't turn evil and kill humans. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Anyways, that's all irrelevant. Except apparently X has 53,000 available terabytes of data? I wish I had that much storage. You gain control of X, who appears on this highway, and at the end of the stage he faces off against Vile, a big baddie working for Sigma, the real big baddie. You can fight against him if you want to, but there's no winning this fight, seeing as he'll subdue you anyways. Only the best players like me can defeat him. X is helpless in Vile's clutches, but another robot comes through and blasts at Vile, and he lets X go. Zero zooms in, and as he is about to blast Vile away, he escapes in his ship. Zero then explains to X that even though he is powerful, he isn't strong enough to take down Sigma alone. So in response to that, X goes through all the Maverick stages and steals their fucking shit. Oh yeah, Mavericks are an evil group of robots who are unhappy with humans still ruling the Earth or some shit. With all of the Mavericks destroyed, the Sigma stages are unlocked. In the first section of the stages, there is another X and Vile fight. This time, Vile is still victorious. But Zero breaks out of his cage and destroys Vile's power armor. Vile is defeated, and X crouches down next to a dying Zero, who has faith that X can defeat Sigma. So there's a bunch of other fucking games, and a bunch of games focused around Zero himself, so clearly, he's not fucking dead. Sure, this is a nitpick in retrospect, but are they trying to make you feel sad about a character you've interacted with twice beforehand? Whatever. X makes his way up to Sigma, and Sigma gives him credit for making it this far. But then he makes you fight his fucking dog because he thinks the dog is better than you. X doesn't put up with that shit and he shoves ice right up that robo-doggo's ass. Once Sigma finally fights you, he loses like the bitch he is. And, after moving his body to his giant mech, he puts up more of a fight but still ends up losing. As he's dying, he berates X for not letting the Reploids rule the Earth. Oh yeah, the robots are really called Reploids, I completely forgot. I think X technically isn't considered one, but that's also irrelevant. Sigma's fortress is destroyed, and X contemplates the meaning of life or some shit. Such a corny way of ending this game. After a small character reel, we see the credits, and after waiting for a while to get a message from Sigma, saying that he will be back soon enough. Considering that Mega Man X2 takes place 6 months after this game, it sure didn't take long for Sigma to come back. So we haven't reviewed any Mega Man games on this channel yet, so I guess I should go into some sort of depth for it this time. There are several main staples for the Mega Man series, like the ability to choose whichever stage to attempt at first, and stealing boss powers from down bosses that are each strong against one specific boss. For those unaware, which I would be surprised considering these games are ancient history at this point, but the Mega Man X games are overhauls of the traditional Mega Man formula. X gets several moves that his predecessor does not, like the ability to wall climb and charging his buster from the get-go. Classic Mega Man got the ability to charge it in 5, I believe, but it was not an original capability. Also, I think it might have been Mega Man 4 that he got the buster charge. I don't know, 5 doesn't sound right. X discovers several capsules throughout the stages, each made by Dr. Light with a message from him as well. It's implied that Dr. Light made Mega Man X sometime after the original Mega Man, but I don't know if that's ever really confirmed. There are 4 capsules total, one for each main piece of armor. The leg piece is 100% essential in the game, giving X the ability to dash. That's why the leg upgrade becomes a permanent upgrade in every single game after this point. This is used as an overall navigation tool, and it can help with avoiding enemies. I think in the original version the capsule was hidden away, but here in the Legacy Collection it was placed directly on the main path. The helmet piece allows X to break blocks with his head, and also by sliding on them? Not sure how the sliding part works, but that's irrelevant. I've been saying irrelevant a lot. Then there is the chest piece, which all it does is it reduces the damage you take. It seems minor, but especially with no health upgrades, you can be taken out really easily by some of the bosses. The last piece is the arm piece. It gives X a supercharged buster attack, along with allowing him to charge up boss weapons. They will have some different properties, but the only really useful one is Rolling Shield's charge, which encloses X in a shield that destroys all small enemies. It's used mainly to grind for energy for the sub-tanks. Speaking of the sub-tanks, there are another collectible past the armor pieces. They'll fill up with excess energy, and you can use them to refill your life bar. If the tank is filled 100%, it will completely restore your health. But if you don't let it fill all the way, it'll only restore a very small portion of health. The final boss room has a couple of enemy spawners in the tunnel up, and the rolling shield is perfect to grind health and energy. A neat feature that I didn't notice, and may be exclusive to the Legacy Collection, is that you don't have to have any weapons equipped to refill their energy reserves. It really just expedites the recharging process, especially for Sigma. Then the final collectible is the heart containers, which all they do is increase X's overall health. I mean, duh. There is one more attack that you can get, which I didn't even bother attempting. It's the super move, the Hadouken. No, it's not the Hadouken, is it? It is the Hadouken, because I think in X2 it's the Shinshoryuken or whatever. Whatever. And the way of getting it is so obtuse and annoying that I didn't even want to try. It'll one-hit kill most, if not all, bosses. So I'm adding this after the rest of the script is done, but I didn't mention Spark Mandrill Syndrome. What is Spark Mandrill Syndrome? Spark Mandrill Syndrome, also known as SMS, is the effect of making bosses your bitch, most notably with Spark Mandrill. With some of the boss weapons, they will stun-lock their opposing bosses in an endless loop. With Spark Mandrill, he gets frozen by the shotgun ice power, and you can refreeze him immediately. It's sad, really. Granted, it's not as bad as it was in Maverick Hunter X, but it's still really rough. Luckily, the other bosses aren't quite as bad with it. I think I should talk about the game's difficulty. I thought this game was fairly easy, but granted I have at least a little bit of experience with it. Knowing at least roughly where the various upgrades are will help with the difficulty as well, especially the chest upgrade. This game is at least a very good starting point for those who may have not gotten around to playing any other Mega Man games. Now, I did take advantage of a guide during my time playing it, and it helped a lot with finding the last couple of upgrades, and also the specific boss order. So that helped a lot as well. For the first Mega Man game released on the Super Nintendo, this was a really good foot to step on. The graphics are pretty good, and the controls are tight. I don't know much about the other games, but I've heard 2 was really good as well, and 3 is decent. I have played 4 quite a bit, but I never finished it. Plus, 4 is also pretty different because it's on the PS1, not the Super Nintendo, so that's a thing as well. That's all I really have to say about Mega Man X. It's a lot of fun, and definitely worth the time it takes to play, seeing as it's really only a few hours long. Plus, even if these games aren't your style, there is a Rookie Hunter mode that decreases enemy damage, and I think it also decreases X's knockback when he gets hit. but I'm not really sure about that. Well, Trail asked me to cover him next week, eating, so we'll be meeting back here next time. Now, what should I review?